All right, we'll go on to some old business, and I leave it open to people to bring things
I've
up.
got a hand up, Catherine. Let me see.
Oh, go.
Frank?
Well, please, go for it.
Frank? Did you want to ask a question? Let me get.
I was just raising my thumb to say it was good news.
All right. Thank you, Frank. Go ahead, Catherine.
Oh, well, I take that any day. Just keep raising the thumb. That's good. Thank you. Yes, I wonder if anyone had old business. We have so many things that we work on over time, and people, whatever happened to X, Y, or Z. And I know Jean wanted to bring up the thing about the roundabout that was discussed about 2 months ago, and you want to ask a question about that one. Go ahead, Jean.
Yeah, I was curious. If we get this traffic study out, will we be able to explain to them we have more traffic than that roundabout can take? Because I agree, I have no problem with 2 lanes at the roundabout, but we have to bring the 2 lanes down, like across the whole beach area and down a little further down the road to make sure that they can narrow down appropriately. You know, I'm just saying that I'm a little concerned they're going to get that thing built or start to get it built. We're not going to be able to move, you know?
I think the fellow who is doing this with a particular program that he has.
Catherine, I'm on if you'd like me to answer.
Hi, Jim. Do you want to answer that? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm on.
Let me
Thanks.
just tell a little bit about you, because Jim is a member of the South End and has a passion for all things related that happens to that intersection. And so he can give you a quick update on what this might do for us. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, sure. People may also remember that I'm a person that's been intimately involved in the Siesta Promenade and worries about the primary access to Siesta Key, Stickney Point Road. Let me just touch on that real quickly, and then we'll come back to the roundabout. Where we stand, I don't want to get into too much because just today we filed with FDOT an updated submission in an effort to stop the construction of a light at Avenue B and C. If we're successful with that effort, the whole project, Siesta Promenade, will not go forward. And so when you have looked at what's going on that 24-acre site with nothing happening, the reason nothing is happening is because FDOT had to approve that light, and we've engaged in legal activity where I'm frankly I am the plaintiff in the activity to stop that light. I will just say I want to be careful about the adjectives I used here. If everything we say, if we're not caught in some sort of error where we've had experts in both the law and in the engineering aspects of this involved, unless we've made a serious mistake, and I don't think we have, they're in trouble. And they will not be able to go forward that light if we get any sort of fair treatment at all. But so say your prayers on that. It will make a huge difference. And I just want to say that, you know, I love everything you talked about today. But the main thing we need to worry about for Siesta Key and the future of Siesta Key are the 2 primary, or the 2 accesses to Siesta Key, and in particular, the attack that's going on the primary access to Siesta Key, Stickney Point Road. Because if we get both Siesta Promenade and I call it the S. Gary Hotel, or the no entry, no exit, no beach access hotel, for which there's already a transportation impact analysis done that's ridiculous. If both of those things go through, the Key will never be the same. I don't care what we do elsewhere on the Key. I don't care anything about these hotels. That primary access gets screwed up with those 2 projects, we're done. So people need to know that. And I think, so now to Catherine's deal about the model, a consultant who's been extremely helpful with us on our effort just filed today. I've already seen a first pass effort to use a modeling system that's been used in the city of Phoenix for the whole city. And what's different about it than for example, the current modeling that's been used by FDOT and Kimley Horn and those folks, is that it allows you to model both vehicles and pedestrians. So for example, here on Siesta Key, we could look at the impact of the Ask Gary Hotel, and you can imagine what more pedestrians would mean down on that corner, right? With people trying to get across and walk down the really emergency exit to get to the beach and all that business, and people trying to turn right on red at that light and all the rest. So the model has that capability. The model will have the capability to look at, given the folks on the key already, the hotel levels and transit activity and all the rest, we'd be able to look at, well, if you really, if those people use the beaches legally, that is the public beaches, what would it look like, right? I mean, when do we just not have enough room on our public beaches? And so why are we putting more hotels up, right? Things like that. So we're, with SKA, I've been working with Catherine for years, and over the last couple of years with the Siesta Key Chamber of Commerce. And what we're looking at is developing a model, again, a transportation model for the entire key, including the 2 access roads and 41. Because if you don't do that, you got nothing, right? As I talked about earlier. So that's all in the works, and I'm very excited because Bob and Catherine are wonderful. I've worked with them now for a long time, gotten a lot of support on these efforts that I've been discussing with you all just for the last few minutes, and we'll see what we can do. Is there anything else you want me to touch on, Catherine? Is that good enough for now?
I think one of the things was, it sounds like they could even model what would happen at that roundabout.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. On the roundabout, I mean, if you look at what's being proposed right now and is being given a fast track, is what Catherine and Bob were talking about, or Catherine was talking about at the outset with the meeting that they attend to try to slow things down. But if you imagine everything that's going on, if that light gets approved for Stickney Point, off we go with Stickney Point. They've got fast track for the Ask Gary Hotel at the other end of Siesta Key. You got the roundabout that will be going in, and you got 2 hotels on the north end of the key where I lived for about 25 years. So, I mean, if all of that could be going on under construction in the next 2 or 3 years, imagine that. Imagine that. So, I mean, what we can do with having a tool like this that we own, that we literally own, we can look at, well, what's a roundabout really going to do for us? I mean, the interesting thing about it, Anderson's commented in one of the papers just recently on that subject, that we frequently have backup from that roundabout all the way back to the bridge, stop and go traffic during tourist season. Let me just comment to you that the analysis that was done for FDOT, where they have tentatively approved that light for Stickney Point, said that they could put that light at Avenue B and C and not even back up traffic to 41. I mean, I'm a PhD engineer. I did this stuff, my first jobs at General Motors. This is easy modeling. That's such crap. I can't even believe that we are where we are. With the really crazy stuff that's going on and being proposed and given fast track on this key. So the only way we get control of it is to have a better tool than anybody else and say, this is just not going to work. It's pretty cool. When you get little cars running around, little people running around all in real time. And, Bob with his experience at Exxon and the really fancy stuff that people can do with this mathematical modeling. This is not rocket science. This isn't taking going to Mars like is going on right now and the last 7 minutes totally automated and so forth. This is stuff that we knew how to do 20 years ago, 30 years ago. That's it. I'm done.
Thank you, Jim. And I am very hopeful about this. If we and the fact that the chamber, some of our chamber and business owners are very interested in this because they care about the key as well. And many of them have lived here also for many, many years. So we're going to work together on this, and we're going to have it ready to make a difference. And it's sometimes
Jim, can I make a comment, please? I live on the other side of this the south end of the bridge on Stickney Point. I've been out there many days when the temperature has been, in the 70s, low 80s, and people going to the beach. You're incorrect about where the traffic is backed up. I've seen it backed up all the way on Stickney Point Road to the firehouse on the other side of 41.
No,
And
no,
that
no.
is-
He was talking. I agree with you. I mean, the traffic during normal pre-COVID season, and we have videos when this stuff was presented the night that this was approved by BOC. We drove them nuts with a whole bunch of videos. Remember that? I don't know how many people were there at that meeting. I testified at that meeting. Yeah, there were people, Gene. So I mean, there were many minutes of videos showing the backup coming southbound on 41, coming northbound on 41, trying to make the turn, coming in. It's just, we all know what that traffic is like on Stickney Point. It's just awful. And it's awful whether you're coming north on Midnight Pass from where I am at the south end by Turtle Beach, or coming from the north side down trying to get off. It's all terrible.
Right. Jim, you've been fighting this battle for so long. I do have to say thank you. I really appreciate your due diligence with this. This is important, and someday we'll have to sit down. I worked for General Motors for about 15 years, so we'll have to sit down and talk about that.
Yeah, I had a good time there on two different occasions. I made the top 100 in 9 years.
Wow, congratulations! That is a lot, really.
Yeah,
that's quite an achievement.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Anyway, those were the days when General Motors was really something, though.
That's right.
I mean,
Yep. 1979 for me, so we'll talk later.
Yeah.
All right, Catherine.
Well, and so if we ask people about other, old business, things that we may not have spoken about in a while, did you want to make some comments about anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob has a few. Gosh, I got to look over here. Go ahead.
Catherine, this is Bernat Hoyt talking. Is there going to be a rebuttal to this article in Siesta Sand that sounds very final? Traffic analysis completed and it's all a lie. Is there going to be a rebuttal to this article with an equally impressive headline?
That was the transportation impact analysis that I was commenting on.
That's right.
Frankly, it's very hard to understand exactly what the hell they did there. And I'm planning on, I talked about it with Mason Touche already, who you all know, who works and owns the property up there and so forth. And he was having trouble understanding it as well. I commented, if you don't model it looking at the impact of pedestrians on that corner, on that intersection, you don't know what you're doing, right? It's really important. So none of their work is garbage. Your point is correct. Their work is garbage. But we have to have a way to push back. And the way to push back is what the plan that we're going to be talking about in terms of the modeling effort I talked about more generally for the whole key. The first pass of that model, and one I'll be able to show people in the demonstration at a session coming up in a couple of weeks, we're modeling just Stickney Point Road. Okay, so you'll have 41 Stickney Point Road and down to Midnight Pass, and be able to. So the objective of that tool is if I have to fight FDOT in a hearing, in a formal legal hearing, I want to have that model, and we're going to do that. So frankly, that's a very easy task, to drop a signal in at Avenue B and C on Stickney Point. Calibrate it first as business as usual in a rush hour, in a tourist season environment. Calibrate it to do that, and I already have. I'll be able to show the people at my meeting what that looks like, and then you just drop in a light that has 2 left turn lanes and pedestrian crossing, and see what the hell happens. You don't have to be an engineer to figure out what's going to happen, right? You're going to get more backup, and you're going to get more people marooned who don't go out. I mean, and those guys actually say in writing that they can put that light in and you won't even get any more back up to 41. How? I mean, it's just insane. It's if I were the leadership of FDOT, I would be very embarrassed.
Okay,
Our biggest,
so let me come back. The answer.
I'm done.
The answer is, no, you're not done. The answer is we won't be able to have anything for a couple of weeks because you need to get that model done first. And then we can have something we can show and do a rebuttal with, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, I think the only way, the thing that's going to happen is if we win with FDOT, so we get a victory with a team that we have worked on this, and the document literally went in today. And so it'll be made public and everybody will be able to take a look at it. Then what we will do, regardless of whether FDOT may decide, screw this, they don't want to go through it. Frankly, that would be a good move on their part because if we get an honest hearing, unless I'm missing something big, they're going to be very embarrassed. So the best thing for them to do is to say, we've looked at this. It's very clear we ignored Siesta Key. We totally ignored Siesta Key in approving that light and approving everything they approved on Siesta Promenade. And we stopped that baby. If that happened, that'll be a good.
I'm going to ask. All right, Tom wanted to say one thing. Go ahead, Tom.
Gene, very quickly. Jim, the backup, I come down on the 3rd or 4th day of January this year during the pandemic. The backup was up to Swift Road, not the fire station. It was clear up to Swift Road. It took me an hour, and this is supposedly good. It's pandemic and everything else. It took me an hour to make it from Swift Road down to Midnight Pass. Number one. Number two, they're showing 92 cars going through there. And their survey was taken on a Thursday afternoon. They could have took it probably better at midnight maybe, but Thursday afternoon. I've sent some stuff in and I've been not getting anywhere till just this last few days ago. I've got some stuff into the planning department stating that they need to take in 4 hotels, not just each one, and only 3.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. That's why, I mean, the notion that they would have all of that stuff going on actually accelerating the pace of looking at and potentially approving everything we just discussed. I mean, it's really 4 hotels and a roundabout, right? And whatever the hell else would be going on, that all could be in construction at the same time. That construction is the nightmare, right? We got input, all these trucks running around, going in and out, causing problems. And then the things are all up and built. The main point I would make about this, the reason we have to do a no holds barred attack on this, and Catherine and I were talking about this today, but if they just put that light in and the project goes forward, there's no remedy.
No, none.
We're screwed, right? From a legal standpoint, the only thing you can do is start doing things called what are called QTAM lawsuits, where I can go back and go after these guys. If people die because the emergency vehicles don't get them, do you remember the meeting at Stickney Point that was held out there by FDOT? You remember what happened at that meeting?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Almost everybody that talked at that meeting at the north end of Siesta Key was held by FDOT, and it was about the River Road transfer.
Yes.
We talked them into talking about Siesta Promenade. They didn't want to do it, but they did it. Right? That was the meeting where
we have that on record. I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's in our filing, by the way, that went in today.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your passion, Jim. Always. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
That's good. And so I wanted to also say that it's amazing how it all does come together. Many of these, like for example, these hotels that are right now being proposed were not being considered at the time that the Promenade project was being developed. And so with the intensification, and there is no possibility to create an improved road system. We pretty much have what we have, unless somebody wants to do some takeaways from some folks' property along the way, which I don't believe they would. So it's very important to know that we have limited opportunities on this key to change it. And if you look at the fact that there's no option, and the fellow that I was telling you about this morning that I talked with, who wanted the interest in the Grand Canal and what to do there, he also has been a very big advocate on the really bad traffic on the north end and the number of deaths that have occurred over time. And actually, they did an approved program both for Siesta Key, for Sarasota, and also for the city. And right now, I'm not sure that any of us know that they're doing any better than striping, maybe reducing the speed, but I don't see them doing any major reconstruction. And that should tell you something, because that was a pretty serious circumstance on the north end going all the way to Osprey and 41. So just know that we have our neighbors go from north to south, and they feel it, and it also impacts a lot of other quality of life issues here. Anyone else have old business? Anything else we didn't complete? Anything else? Bob, you want to say something?
Yes.
Okay, Bob has something. Go for it.
Hi. 1 month short of 6 years ago, the Lido project started with an application to FDEP. A lot of the work in renourishing is done over there. I went over there today. They're getting ready to start building their 2 groins. They got a lot of the materials, the foundation blankets, constructed on site, but they don't have the big granite 2-ton boulders for the groins yet. And they're supposed to start now, and they have to be done by April the 15th, or the turtles will show up and scare them off. Where we stand on our legal action is we appealed the rule against us to the Court of Appeals. We had our hearing on November the 18th, and we're waiting on a decision. If we win that, we will file a claim for our legal fees, and just in the appeal, we might be getting a big bag of money from the city and Lido. So we'll see where that stands.
That's what I call a positive opportunity to just chime in. So just think good thoughts, everybody, because they're sitting on that, and it was a very straightforward, very simple challenge. I'm kind of surprised it's taking this long. So thank you. Thank you. And we are interested in what they're really doing over there. We're not really sure. We will see. Anybody else have other questions, comments, or even something you want to look forward to?
This is Merrill Hoyt. I'm confused on only one thing. One thing that occurs to me: we're looking at the Benderson and Siesta Promenade, and we're looking at this traffic study. I have a sense that all of these hotels, when they file separately, are pretending to think that they're the only ones putting up a hotel. And I'm wondering how that is going to play into this fast track, consider them all or consider them separately, or what the heck is going on. Is there anything that makes these folks at the commission look at the impact of all 4? You can't do one at a time because they're not finished yet. And the only base point they have is their one hotel going up. Is anybody looking at the whole picture, and can they? I'm going back to mute now.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. On January the 26th, when we went in front of the commission, we said you need to look at these 3 together and in combination. They're not independent things that you can consider. And so we'll see. They authorized them all to move forward with a 45-day study by the staff, but we'll see when they come in hearing in front of the Planning Commission and then the BCC whether they do them simultaneously. We asked them to, and they nodded their heads like, we hear you. But
They were listed as separate agenda items, although they were in sync with each other under one header, but they were all separate applications. And I think of the three, there is only one that does not seek to change anything about the policies or any text amendments, and it had existence already on the key. And that's the smallest one that already has 55 rooms that have been improved. That used to be the old Best Western. And I do believe there's maybe some semantic differences about wanting to have as many rooms as the other guy. I don't know about that, but he does want to stay within the height and in the intensity of the use of the property. So I don't know, can you just put a single bed in a closet? You probably could, right? It could be a possibility. If you just had a child with you, you wouldn't mind a cubby hole, but we'll see. I think that is the only one that is probably not challenging any of our existing code, because that place existed before the rule of 1989, and that's the cutoff.
Catherine, could I let me try just real quickly to answer that question. What they are doing is they're treating Siesta Key as if it were the mainland. In other words, they're deciding their transportation impact analysis associated with every one of these hotels. Think about it as if they were putting that hotel in any place you want, roughly downtown, right? And so they'll look at the neighboring streets and measure the flow at various times of the year and times of the day and so forth that are in the neighborhood, very tight neighborhood. That's what you get. And they're doing the same damn thing on Siesta Key. They're treating it, only looking at the local streets around it. So, and that's exactly what they did on the Escari Hotel. That's so critical because of its impact on our primary access to the key.
That's
right?
a really good, very similar. I think you're right, Jim, and I think that's why, in particular, we felt that the cumulative impact of all of these together. If you just had one place that was doing something that had always been there, well, it might be not that big a deal, but it's not, and it's in places that are absolutely strategically the worst places they could be, truly. So I want you to know we have asked for that absolutely to be considered. There is also some difference between them in terms of what they're asking for the county to change. And I will tell you that the reason we understand where one of them has a pretty big ask about changing that policy, it allows then everything else under it, the code, the text, the zoning, to be then changed. If we keep our policy intact, or some miraculous way find a way to tweak it so that it keeps the essence together, those other things cannot occur. So you see why the big guy with the tall building in the village wants everything, and therefore he would also like to say, we don't need the words transient accommodations. We just call it all commercial. And then I call that big box they want to bring rooms to go to. That's basically what it is, a big box with rooms to go. And I think that that's their trick. So that's why we're aware of it. We're talking with planning professional, and we're talking with attorney with land planning experience, and we're doing that out of the county.
The simple way to think about each one of these hotels is that they shouldn't be allowed to approve those hotels without having the sort of transportation model that includes both vehicles and pedestrians for all of Siesta Key.
Yep, I agree.
That's the bottom line.
It might be simple, Jim, but again, that is state law that they can't do that. So we got to be careful. And that's something we'll talk about next. But
yeah, we will. And I agree with you, Jim. You know, you have to look at what are we here and how do we use where we live. We use where we live in a very unique way. We're not just any other place.
Yeah, we're not mainland.
No, we're not the mainland. So,
If you put those people in those hotels on this key, they got to get off the damn key.
well, I hope they go away sometime. That's
Yeah,
right.
but they got to, they got to get off in emergency situations, and they got to get off and shop and so forth. You just can't keep putting high-rise hotels on Siesta Key with these two access roads and then plug up the access road as a part of the process. It's insane.
Exactly right. Thanks, Jim. We're with you on it. Anybody else have other?
I'm done. I'm done. I promise to mute myself.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jim. All
Thank
right.
you.
I think I see we're about there with time. We're like 8 minutes away. One thing I want to just highlight to you all is well, I have an agenda. You can see it on your screen, but the bottom of it talks about what's coming up for our next meeting. And we are very blessed that Jean was able to talk with former Commissioner John Thaxton, who is the lead for the Gulf Coast Community Foundation, and he's going to be speaking to our meeting. He was scheduled last March at our breakfast, which of course everything got canceled, but he is going to speak to us next month on the 4th. And I am very hopeful that we can find that we can meet in that really large room, no breakfast, but spaced, and enjoy each other's company safely. So we will hope for that, everybody.
All right.
All right, so I will now call this meeting adjourned.